A disciple says, there's a story about a twice-born person's wife. She ate a piece of a cow, and some of it turned into carrot, some of it turned into garlic, some of it turned into onion, and the blood turned into red lentils. Is that story true? The holy spiritual master replies, it is quite true, so we should not eat those things. What Vyasadeva has written is true. Vyasadeva knows everything past, present, and future. He was able to see what qualities are present in each entity. For example, Bhagavad Gita describes the mode of goodness, the mode of ignorance, the mode of passion, and transcendental natures of various persons, plants, foodstuffs, activities, knowledge, and so on. The following history was spoken by the servant of the Holy Spiritual Master. American scientists have discovered in their laboratories that there are 21 different types of slow poisons or toxins in both onions and garlic, so they are not innocent foods. In the Golden Age, the sages performed cow and horse sacrifices for the welfare of the whole universe. This proved the efficacy of the recitation of the Vedic incantations uttered during the sacrifice. A very old cow or a horse would be sacrificed by being cut into pieces and placed in the fire. Afterwards, the sages would utter incantations and the same animal would come alive in a beautiful young body. Once the pregnant wife of a sage who was about to perform a cow sacrifice had a very strong desire to eat. She had heard that if, during pregnancy, one has a desire to eat and does not fulfill it, the newly born child will always have saliva coming from his mouth. This would be troublesome, both for the mother and the child. The sage's wife had a strong desire to eat meat, and thus she stealthily took one piece of meat from the body of the cow that was offered in sacrifice. She hid it and was planning to eat it very soon. Later, the sage was finishing the sacrifice and uttered all the mantras for the cow to come to life. However, when he saw the new cow, he noticed that there was a small part missing from her left side. He was surprised because this had never happened to him before. He went into meditation and realized that his wife had taken away a piece of meat during the sacrifice. Due to the effect of the incantations uttered by the sage, there was now life in this small piece of meat. The wife now also understood what happened, and she quickly threw the meat far away. Shortly afterwards, red lentils sprouted from the blood of this meat, garlic sprouted from the bones, both garlic and the bones of a cow are white, and onions and carrots sprouted from the flesh. Thus, these foods are never eaten by any devotee of Lord Krishna. They are foods in the mode of ignorance. A devotee may ask, why would our holy spiritual master of the Hare Krishna movement has allowed carrots to be eaten if they are so bad? The answer was kindly given by the holy spiritual master of the Hare Krishna movement himself, in Boston, in 1969. He said, if I told you all the rules and regulations now, you would faint. So for now, follow all the rules I've given, and make up the balance by chanting Hare Krishna. He also often said that he was following the guidelines given by his spiritual master, that is, to induce the Westerners to first chant Hare Krishna, and as they become more and more established in that, the rules and regulations would gradually come. How Onion and Garlic Ruined My Research. Gautam Paul, September 21, 2012, last revised, December 5, 2012, Aachen, Germany. Introduction. It was a very hectic summer week. Almost every day I stayed up until midnight in the lab. On the final day, even my host professor stayed up with me up to 4 a.m. in the morning when we did the final submission. It was a prestigious international conference and we thought we made it, our results seeming to be of pretty good quality. But alas! After a couple of days I discovered a severe silly mistake in my experiments, and actually there was a gross mismatch between what we said we have done and what we had actually done. I could immediately foresee the fate of the paper that was going to come out after 3 months, and no surprise we got the rejection notification in due course in time. But how could I be so stupid? I have had many failures in life, but never through such a silly casual unforgivable error. When the shock calmed down, someone from inside uttered, "Isn't it due to the onions?" "Maybe," I answered. Actually, since almost 10 years I have been practicing a Vedic diet without onion and garlic. And of course I had experienced a positive change in my concentration level and thinking power after I had left onions and garlics forever. But for the very few days before the above paper submission, I had to eat onions under compelling circumstances. In the past, I had heard from many reliable sources that onion and garlic affect the concentration level and have a negative impact on the brain functions. But could it be so bad, when so many people on Earth are eating it every day? I started doing some research and found some amazing facts that changed my maybe cause to must be. I would like to share these facts here. Chemical composition. Both onion and garlic have sulfoxide, a compound that contains sulfonyl, so, functional group attached to 2 carbon atoms. In a New York Times article it is commented that onions and garlics have a lot in common with gunpowder. Both onion and garlic belong to the genus Allium that includes shallot, leek, chive and rachio. Their sulfur-based defense systems give the alliums their distinctive flavors. The plants deploy them when their tissues are breached by biting, crushing or cutting. The chemicals are highly irritating, and discourage most creatures from coming back for seconds. They kill microbes and repel insects, and they damage the red blood cells of dogs and cats. Garlic cloves produce a chemical called allicin, 2-propene, 1-sulfonothioic acid S, 2-propenyl ester, which is responsible for their strong pungency and aroma. It is a relatively large molecule and acts mainly on direct contact with the eater. Onions, shallots, scallions and leeks share a special stockpiled chemical and a second defensive enzyme. They produce a sulfur molecule that is small and light enough to launch itself from the damaged tissue, fly through the air and attack our eyes and nasal passages. This long-distance weapon is called the lacrimatory factor because it makes people's eyes water. For a more technical details, one may refer to the book by Dr. Eric Bloch, Poisonous Effects of Onions and Garlics. Dr. Robert, Bob, C. Beck, DSc discovered that garlic is toxic because the sulfone hydroxyl ion penetrates the blood-brain barrier, just like dimethyl sulfoxide, DMSO, and is a specific poison for higher life forms and brain cells. Dr. Beck was in flight test engineering in Doc Hallen's group in the 1950s. He recalls that the flight surgeon would come around every month and remind all of them, "Don't you dare touch any garlic 72 hours before you fly one of our airplanes, because it'll double or triple your reaction time. You're 3 times slower than you would be if you'd not had a few drops of garlic." Dr. Beck continues in his lecture as follows, "Well, we didn't know why for 20 years later, until I owned the M.TECH Corporation. We were building biofeedback equipment and found out that garlic usually desynchronizes your brain waves. They would have people come back from lunch that looked clinically dead on an encephalograph, which they used to calibrate their progress. Well, what happened? Well, I went to an Italian restaurant and there was some garlic in my salad dressing. So they had them sign things that they wouldn't touch garlic before classes or they were wasting their time, their money and his time. Later, he funded a study at Stanford and they found that indeed garlic is a poison. You can rub a clove of garlic on your foot, you can smell it shortly later on your wrists. So it penetrates the body. This is why DMSO smells a lot like garlic, that sulfone hydroxyl ion penetrates all the barriers including the corpus callosum in the brain. Any of you who are organic gardeners know that if you don't want to use DDT, garlic will kill anything in the way of insects. Now, most people have heard most of their lives garlic is good for you, and we put those people in the same class of ignorance as the mothers who at the turn of the century would buy morphine sulfate in the drugstore and give it to their babies to put them to sleep. He continues, if you have any patients who have low-grade headaches or attention deficit disorder, they can't quite focus on the computer in the afternoon, just do an experiment, you owe it to yourselves. Take these people off garlic and see how much better they get, very very shortly. And then let them eat a little garlic after about 3 weeks. They'll say, my God, I had no idea that this was the cause of our problems. And this includes the deskunked garlics, kyolic, some of the other products. Very unpopular, but I've got to tell you the truth. Garlic can affect the mind and concentration. Do not eat it if performing activities requiring concentration and mental acuity. In recent years there have been several studies that establish that onions may cause allergies, intestinal gas, diarrhea and heartburn. Though there are some medicinal benefits of onions and garlics, some homeopathic medicines like allium cepa are produced from onions. As food items, their ill effects outnumber the good ones. Prohibition in several cultures. The article gives a good review on how onions and garlics were traditionally prohibited in many cultures around the world for similar reasons. The Taoists realized thousands of years ago that plants of the allium family were detrimental to humans in their healthy state. In his writings, one sage Sangtse described the alliums as the 5 fragrant or spicy scented vegetables, that each have a detrimental effect on one of the following 5 organs: liver, spleen, lungs, kidneys, and heart. Specifically, onions are harmful to the lungs, garlic to the heart, leeks to the spleen, chives to the liver and spring onions to the kidneys. Sangtse said that these pungent vegetables contain 5 different kinds of enzymes which cause reactions of repulsive breath, extra foul odor from perspiration and bowel movements, and lead to lewd indulgences, enhance agitations, anxieties and aggressiveness, especially when eaten raw. Similar things are described in Ayurveda. As well as producing offensive breath and body odor, these, allium, plants induce aggravation, agitation, anxiety and aggression. Thus they are harmful physically, emotionally, mentally and spiritually. Even when garlic is used as food in Chinese culture, it is considered harmful to the stomach, liver and eyes, and a cause of dizziness and scattered energy when consumed in immoderate amounts. Onion and garlic was never adopted into traditional Japanese cuisine and was shunned by Zen masters. Reiki practitioners explain that garlic and onions are among the first substances to be expelled from a person's system along with tobacco, alcohol and pharmaceutical medications. This makes it apparent that allium plants have a negative effect on the human body and should be avoided for health reasons. Buddhists, Vaisnavas and Jains completely avoid onions and garlics in any form. An old Turkish legend explains that when Satan was thrown out of heaven, garlic sprouted where he first placed his left foot, and onions grew where he placed his right foot. The Greek citizenry, especially the aristocracy, firmly rejected garlic and found its smell repugnant. Anyone smelling of garlic was considered vulgar and was prevented from enter the temples. However, in Aristophanes' play, Wives at the Feast of Thesmophores, the women who were cheating on their husbands found garlic the perfect cover-up for a night of indulgence. Horace, Roman lyric poet and satirist, said of garlic in his Epodes, that it is more poisonous than hemlock. In Shakespeare's Midsummer Night's Dream, the character Bottom tells the other actors not to eat garlic or onion, for we are to utter sweet breath. The 17th century British view of garlic was solidly negative, with expressions like, not fit for ladies' palates, nor those who court them, or that eating garlic was part of the punishment for such as had committed the horridest crimes. When famous poet Percy Shelley visited Italy with his friend Lord Byron, he was shocked and appalled to see his friend eating the garlic that was served at a social gathering. Nor is garlic always seen as having entirely beneficial properties in Western cooking and medicine. It is widely accepted among healthcare professionals that, as well as killing harmful bacteria, garlic also destroys beneficial bacteria, which are essential to the proper functioning of the digestive system. 5. Conclusion. One may argue that so many people are eating onions and garlics every day. However, so many people are regularly doing other things as well, smoking, drinking alcohol, etc., and are apparently functioning great. So that does not prove anything, but what I cannot deny is what I have experienced myself. Onions and garlics have killed my research at least once, and who knows, it may affect your activities as well. References: 1. M. L. Allen, M. H. Mello, M. G. Robinson and W. C. Orr. The Effect of Raw Onions on Acid Reflux and Reflux Symptoms. In the American Journal of Gastroenterology 85, 4, pages 377 to 380, April 1990. 2. Eric Bloch. Garlic and Other Alliums, The Lore and the Science. Royal Society of Chemistry, 1st edition, May 28, 2010. 3. Bob Beck. Is Garlic a Brain Poison? Nexus Magazine, February/Mar 2001. Source: from a lecture by Dr. Robert C. Beck, DSc, given at the Whole Life Expo, Seattle, Washington, USA, in March 1996. 4. Bob Beck. The Beck Protocol, a health protocol for use at home. http://www.bobbeck.com. 5. Kurm Das. Why no garlic and onions? http://kurm.net/essays/e19.html. 4. 6. Michelle R. Davidson, Marcia L. London and Patricia A. Ladwig. Olds Maternal Newborn Nursing Women's Health Across the Lifespan, 9th edition, Prentice Hall, December 30, 2010. 7. G. Richard Locke. The Prevalence and Impact of Gastroesophageal Reflux Disease. International Foundation for Functional Gastrointestinal Disorders, August 2009. 8. Harold McGee. The Chemical Weapons of Onions and Garlic. The New York Times, June 8, 2010. 9. National Digestive Diseases Information Clearinghouse. Gas in the Digestive Tract, January 2008. http://digestive.nih.gov/ddiseases/pub/gas/gas.pdf. 10. Onion Toxicity and the Raw Food Diet. Raw Food Heath. http://www.raw-food-health.net/onion-toxicity.html